Feedback is defined as the process where the learner makes sense of performance-relevant information to promote their learning. Peer feedback can appear in the form of verbal feedback, group activities, as well as written feedback when marking each other's work.
Our research showed that giving and receiving feedback is a highly emotionally charged experience, with over 38% of the students surveyed feeling negatively about themselves after receiving poor feedback.
Those same students also reported feeling negative emotions after receiving feedback, such as disappointment, sadness, embarrassment, anxiety, and stupidity. So it is important to ensure that the feedback you provide is polite, respectful, and constructive, rather than just critical.
Students reported a diverse range of responses to these negative emotions. Whilst many had a negative outlook, such as lacking in self-confidence, there were other students who in fact felt motivated to do better. This highlights the importance of talking to your peer about the type of feedback they would like to receive before looking at their work. It also points to the importance of providing balanced feedback.
Of the students surveyed, 6 characteristics were identified as being most valuable when receiving peer feedback. 1. To focus primarily on the weaknesses of work in order to identify the areas for development. 2. To provide balanced feedback that includes both strengths of the work that could be repeated in the future, as well as areas for development that could be targeted. 3. To encourage growth by identifying 2 to 3 action points that could inform future development. 4. To ensure that feedback is easy to understand by using accessible language and clear explanations for each point. 5. To connect the feedback to specific examples from the work so that it is easier to act on the comments being made. And 6. It is important when writing your feedback to focus on the actions that your comments encourage your peers to take, rather than on the comments themselves. We also found that students cared less for feedback that explains the grade awarded or contained the right answers.
When giving peer feedback, the advice of the students surveyed was to focus on suggesting ideas with specific and critically constructive comments in order to help their peers to improve their grade and to deliver the feedback in an emotionally sensitive way, as peers appreciated an encouraging and supportive tone when describing areas for development, which demonstrated respect for the effort their peer put into their work. One way of achieving this is to read your feedback comments out loud and to consider whether they are clear and actionable, and how you would react to receiving this feedback before giving it to your peer. Following this advice can help your peers to feel more positively about the peer feedback experience.
This is important considering just over 35% of students surveyed reported feeling positively about themselves after receiving actionable feedback. The feelings described as resulting from a positive feedback experience included being happy, motivated, excited, proud, and confident.
When applied to future work, students with a more positive feedback experience describe themselves as being full of passion and hope, and feeling more confident and motivated. This highlights the importance of providing and receiving good quality peer feedback to enhance both the students' well-being as well as their grade performance. However, we did also find that positive feelings associated with feedback sometimes resulted in students slacking in future work. Therefore, it is important to ensure that your feedback is balanced.
In conclusion, to provide constructive and actionable peer feedback, it is useful to remember the following points. 1. Ensure that the feedback you provide is balanced, identifying both the strengths and areas for development of the work. If feedback focuses entirely on the strengths of the work, then it will not help your peer to develop and could result in slacking. And if it focuses entirely on the areas of development, then it will be more difficult for your peer to know whether to repeat certain things in the future, and this could have an impact on their self-esteem. 2. Emotionally sensitive feedback comments are important as an effective tool to show respect for your peers' efforts and empathy for the impact that these comments could have. 3. Including specific examples from your peers' work in your feedback comments demonstrates your engagement with their work and is easier for them to act upon, particularly as vague, unactionable criticisms were one of the main reasons that students feel negatively about themselves. And last but not least, ensuring that your feedback comments are clear and accessible is vital, as clarity is key when making improvements to future work.
Thank you for watching.